So I'm actually pretty excited right now. I ordered the other day off of, I think it was eBay. Man, these things showed up super quick. I got a set of, this is really cool, I got a set of 4/8 flat tops. Standard size flat top 4/8 pistons that have the groove for the wrist pin keepers. So it's a complete set of pistons and rings, and I think it was like 149 bucks. So that's not bad at all. I also got a 34 element sprag for the Turbo 400. This package right here is a sweetie. I got this 100 amp solid state relay, I guess it is, and a heat sink for it, and that's what I'm going to run the that's actually what I'm going to run the fuel pumps off of. I got a set of helicoils that are 5/16 18. Here on the Turbo 400, there's these 3 bolt holes that mount the pump, because I have the 8 bolt pump case. So this hole right here, the threads just barely catch the bolt. They've been stripped out, and it has this like cut slash down to that hole, and I think that's where I had a bunch of this fluid was seeping out of the case at the pump right there at that bottom lower corner. So I'm going to take the helicoils and I'm going to drill all these threads out, and I'm going to retap it. I'm going to helicoil all these bolts for the pump. And then I did get the new clutches in the forward drum. But this is it's another 60mm wastegate. So I'm going to set the FireTurd up. It's going to be set up for E85 with 2 wastegates for the compound turbos. Yeah, this is so cool. That's so awesome. It may not be the greatest, but it should work, I think. Ooh, almost dropped it. Let's not do that right out of the gate, I guess. I still have a whole bunch more stuff coming. I have a surge tank and a bunch of other stuff coming, but I should be able to get this transmission together today. The motor is pretty much ready to go in. I'm going to get on this transmission, try and get it together so I can get it in. It's kind of breezy today, but I'm trying to get the second wastegate on the log manifold. So I've got to get the turbos braced up, and I got to get this wastegate on. So I've kind of got it marked up. I don't know if you can see that. Got it marked. I got it marked here as far as where it needs to go. Was it like somewhere like that-ish? Pretty close. And then I'll be able to tie into the upper part with that wastegate. And then I took the GT45 off, and it looks like, well, besides the pressurized crankcase pushing oil past the seals in it, it looks like there's maybe, yeah, a spot right there. I don't know if you can see that. Let's see. See the spot right here? Looks like maybe that compressor blade was maybe rubbing just a little bit, because actually, I mean, it's never spun really good, but it's not horrible. I don't know if I'll worry about, I may just try and flush the bearings out. Maybe I got some crap in there, I don't know. And then, but it appears to spin pretty decent. And then I'll just make sure that I have it set in good next time. So that I'm thinking maybe it might have shifted a little bit with everything rocking around. So since they wanted me to brace it anyways, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a plate that bolts into these 3 bolt holes in the front of the cylinder head, and then I'm going to put a bolt in this bolt hole, make a bracket comes up and along the bottom and cover up this Geddes here, because he etched that in my motor unapproved and I'm not happy about it, so I'll cover that all up with the steel plate. And then so I'll have a plate up here. I'm going to use some of that 3/16 plate that I've got. I'll make a bracket plate, comes across there and comes down. I'll have another piece comes down flat here along there, and it comes down and then bolts in here at this bolt as well. So that'll give me 4 bolt points. And then I've got some 1/2-inch rod, but I also have this 5/8, and so I'm thinking, you know, basically cut and weld to that plate, and then maybe make some other plates that'll either bolt into these flanges, because they're threaded on these flanges that I bought from Under Pressure Performance in Colorado Springs. So I can make a plate that'll bolt up to there, maybe that'll brace down to the plate, and then also on the GT45 kind of do the same thing. So I'm going to use some of this poster board and make me a template off of this cylinder head, because I'm going to be using, well, this cylinder head isn't going to be used, but I'm going to be using those same 3 bolt holes. So I'll just make it off of this head, make me a template, and then I can cut me a bracket, a piece of plate or whatever, and cut it into a bracket out of this 3/16, and I'll get that going on. So I'm just going to leave the turbos where they were for the time being. I think I want to try and add one more breather line to the oil breather. So I got some -12 aluminum bungs, and that one will fit just perfect into there. So since I switched the valve covers back to the size that they're supposed to go on stock, and my oil fill where the other breather tube will go in is up forward, I'll put this one in here and I'll try and weld that, I guess, onto that valve cover, so that I have a second breathe tube. And then I'll take another one of these bungs, because I think I got like 4 of them, and I'll weld that onto the catch can, so I have 2 places to go into the catch can, and hopefully that will help with crankcase ventilation. This turbo seems to spin pretty good, so that turbo is doing good. That one, I've got like 3 rebuild kits for it though, so it's not that bad. And yeah, so I'm working on that exhaust. Once that exhaust stuff is done and I can have the 2 wastegates and the turbos all hooked up and everything, then I'll work on the brace to have them all braced up. And then after that, I think it's time to put the engine and transmission back here in the FireTurd. You know, I'm thinking I'll put maybe another bung over here, and then feed in another vent into this side of into the breather. But yeah, I think I'm just about ready to put all this back in. But this is what this is, I think Tuesday. Yeah, Tuesday. This is Tuesday before Rocky Mountain Race Week. Doesn't look like I'm going to go. One is monetary constraints. Two is time constraints. I could probably get it done like I did for LS Fest, but I really don't want to blow up this motor, so I don't know that I really want to push it that hard. But what I'd like to do is get it running by Monday and sorted enough that I'm not worried about hurting it. Maybe drive down to Pueblo with it and see everybody at the track in Pueblo on Monday, then maybe be able to drive up to Morrison on Tuesday when everybody's up in Morrison on Tuesday, kind of hang out at the track up there again on Tuesday, and then at least then the FireTurd gets out and I get a little bit more of a feel for it and how it's going and stuff, and it's something to get out and do, and it gives me a goal, you know, a reasonable goal where I'm not concerned that I'm going to tear up the motor trying to race it and stuff on the unknown. And then I'm not spending all that money that I really don't have to spend and all that good fun stuff, and that will allow me to get all the stuff out of here, and then I can start working on the Camaro project that I need to finish to sell, and then maybe I can have more money to go play in September at LS Fest East and maybe Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0 or something. So that's pretty much the plan here, and that's what I'm going to be working on today. I got the surge tank and I installed the two Bosch 44 pumps. The only bummer is they're too wide spacing in the tank to fit the manifold, so I'll have to figure out something else. But that gives me surge tank with two pumps for the car. I'm also working on getting the mounts for the transmission shield on, but I needed spacers, so I went and got some washers so I could space that up above the pan rail. And pretty much that's what's going on. I'd have to weld up the piece on the manifold for the wastegate. I got it cut out here. I got this piece cut out, so I can work on getting that welded together and whatnot. It's gonna be ugly, but you know, it is what it is. And then I need to weld this on the wastegate, and then I'll have to worry about the other tube out of the wastegate into the curved tube by the other wastegate and get that all done up, but and get this transmission shield mounted up. And then I think once I've got that stuff done, I think the Snake Eater Performance 1500cc injectors came in today, so I'll have Snake Eater Performance injectors, and I think maybe I got other stuff showing up today or tomorrow or something. And then I think maybe tomorrow I can be putting the motor and the transmission back in the FireTurd, so see how it goes. Alright, so I'm getting ready to put the transmission and the engine back in the FireTurd, but in order to fit the flex plate shield, I have to cut these tabs straight off of the sides of the transmission bell housing. So like you can see, I already cut this one off right here. Goes like that. Something. It's hot still, so I'm cutting that off, and then I'll be able to go stuff it in the car, because then I can fit the flex plate shield on it when I bolt the motor up to it. So anyways, that's what I'm up to right now. Alright, so I got the tabs cut off, so you can see why the little pieces on the side have to be cut off of it down there. It's because it's got to be completely straight in order for the flex plate shield to sit on the transmission right. So transmission shield is ready to go on. The flex plate shield, I've got the transmission shield on already, and so now it's time to put the transmission back in the hole. Alright, so this is being fun, if that's the right word, but yeah, so you can probably see, well, maybe not, let's see. Yeah, you can probably see there how crooked the transmission is. It is not on center line, and it's being pushed forward on the passenger side by the transmission shield. The transmission shield is catching on the transmission cross member. Transmission cross member. And so, yeah, it's being a real pain in the butt. I've been cutting into the cross member. So, I've been cutting into the cross member. You can see it hits, straight up hits the cross member. And so I need to cut the cross member back further so that I can get that dang transmission to sit in there right. And then once I get it cut back far enough, then I'm going to have to end up, I'm going to have to make a plate to box that in to add the strength back into it. But I'm thinking, man, I'm going to have to cut Dang near halfway back in that. I'm thinking I might have to cut like over here and then cut back maybe that far or something. I don't know. Seems just crazy to me that oh, it's so stupid. The dang, you get the SFI transmission shield, and then the dang thing, you can't modify it at all, and so I can't just notch the shield, which would be a whole hell of a lot easier to just notch the shield. But nope, can't touch the shield, which is stupid because they got the braces underneath the oil pan to hold the pan. Is made for a deep oil pan, and so if you don't have a deep oil pan, they just get in your flipping way. It's one thing, it's literally one thing after another trying to do this stuff to this car, you know, and it eats up time, and it's disheartening, discouraging. And then it's like, I hope the dang thing fits up between the tunnel and firewall and everything. It's like, holy crap, man. I don't know. Seems ridiculous to me. Well, I guess the only way to deal with this is going to be drop the transmission to the ground, and take that dang transmission cross member out, and then cut and modify it and weld in some new plate on it so I can get it back in there. But it's just a pain in the butt. It really is. Really, really, really is just a pain in the butt. But I guess I got to do it, so I'm going to get on it, I guess. Alright, it's pretty breezy out, and the wind was blowing away all my welding gas while I was welding, so it looks pretty crappy. But I got the other wastegate mounted up here. I'm hoping it's at a good angle, because if not, I'm just going to have to figure it out when I do the bleed off pipe, exit pipe up to the horseshoe piece up there. And then I also got this notch cut out and plated, and then of course the wind's blowing away my welding gas, but it doesn't look too bad. I'm hoping that that's cut back far enough, otherwise I'm gonna have to redo it, I guess. So yeah, I'm ready to put this motor in, so I'm gonna get to it. Right now I'm gonna set the torque converter back in and try and get it seated in on the transmission, and then I think at that point what I'm going to end up doing is I'm still going to try and get it done even if I don't make it to race week. I want to try and make it out to Pueblo, I think, and Denver, to the racetrack to see everybody. This really sucks. Ouch. Oh, that hurt my knee. Oh. Oh, there. Is that one? I don't know. There's two. Gosh dang, I can reach all the way back behind it. I'm going to reach my hand all the way back behind there. Touch the center. Just wondering if it's actually engaging the pump in the transmission. There's one. Was that two? Yep, that's two. Oh, there's three. There it is. Yeah. I mean, it's still tight. I can still practically reach back there and touch everything. But that's three. Here's the top fitting. Well, it's really early Friday morning, and I've had enough. That transmission's fighting me. I don't know what it is. Maybe maybe the crankshaft is just a little bit longer from molar on the end, so I don't need the adapter spacer between the flex plate and the torque converter. I don't know what it is, but I've got at least 1/4 of an inch to cinch down, and it just locks everything up and nothing will turn. I'm at a loss. I don't even know what to do anymore. I'll figure something out. But anyways, I'm tired. I'm sore from rolling around on all this rough ass pavement, rocks and dirt, and I'm just ready to go home. Thirsty, tired. I'm just nasty. Got crap in my beard. Anyways, do a little every day and you go a long way. It doesn't look like I'm going to make Rocky Mountain Race Week 1.0, but it's only on the waiting list anyways, I guess. So, see you on the next round. So, I had to take the transmission back out of the car because I was thinking about it. I was like all bummed and I was thinking about it. And what I did was when I put the pump together after I modded it, I put the pump gear in the wrong direction, so the little tabs that lock into the converter to drive the pump were on the converter side instead of the transmission side, and so it wasn't allowing the torque converter to slide back all the way and seat correctly. So I had to take the transmission out. I had to take the pump apart, I had to flip that, and then I had to put it all back together. I got an oil filter on there now, and I'm about ready to put the torque converter back in, put the transmission back up in the car, and that should make enough of a difference that I can get it all together, and then I can put the drive shaft in it, and then I can work on getting the turbos and stuff mounted on it, and maybe I'll have it running this evening. So anyways, I'm gonna get back to work. Alright, it's still a bit breezy today, and this thing's been kicking my butt. But anyways, I wanted to show you guys this. So this is a Crescent X6 wrench, and these wrenches, now I'm not sponsored or nothing, but they've got a spline drive on the box, which is nice, and then on the open end, you see there's an arrow. There's a little pin inside the jaw that's spring loaded. So watch what cool stuff this does here. I don't know if you can see because of the dark there. I don't know, maybe I can go this way. Yeah, there we go. So it ratchets. That pin actually, of course now it's not going to do it. Yeah. Pin goes in, ratchets over, and so you can actually ratchet that open end box in wrench on the open end. Yeah, those are pretty cool little wrenches. An open end ratcheting wrench. So I'm gonna get back on this. I've got this manifold. I just need to tighten those two in the middle. This manifold is on, the starter is on, the flex plate to torque converter bolts are in, the drive shaft is in. I got to work on getting the transmission cross member in. I bolted up the accessories. I have to put in the oil lines and stuff for the turbo feeds down off of the filter. The filter is screwed on. There's still no fluids in anything yet, but it's all coming together. I got before you put the starter in, you got to put in that crank sensor down there, otherwise you'll never get it in there. So that's hooked up. I've got the cam sensor and the oil pressure sensor hooked up. But yeah, I'm going to work on a few things on this. On the top end, for the most part, I think I got most everything underneath done except for that cross member. But yeah, so anyway, it's been kicking my butt, and I haven't been recording a lot because it's pretty much the same old crap that you've seen me do a bunch of times. So I will get the first start though, so stay tuned. Just about got it together. It's coming along nicely. So got a few things to do. I'm working on the throttle cable right now. I got to tighten the motor mount bolts. I've got to go buy a couple more nuts for the exhaust flange down here, because I was missing two when I took it apart. I only had one left, so I got one in my pocket, and hopefully I can find some self-locking exhaust bolts or whatever. And then I still have a couple of things to do on valve covers, like weld a bung on here for a breather. And then this side over here, I still got to tap and plug that hole there. And then I got to redo breather stuff. Coil's still got to go on, but I'm not going to worry about that until I'm finished with valve cover stuff. My dang dipstick's going to be hanging out over here, I guess, because when I come up here, I put the dang wastegate right where the top of the dipstick comes up to. So I guess it's just going to kind of hang out there, I guess. Not cool, but whatever. Figure something out later, I guess. So I don't have the flex plate shield on because that was being a pain in the butt. The transmission shield is on it though. I got to run a vacuum line to the vacuum modulator on the transmission. Starter is hooked up, fuel lines are hooked up. I've got to completely redo a fuel system. Top turbo does spin. Looked like it was maybe just rubbing just a little bit the last time. I gotta put this clamp on. I still gotta get it on there and tighten down. Let's see. Accessory belt's on. Radiator is in. I gotta put the radiator fan in there. Yeah, mostly it's just fuel system. So yeah, you can see on the throttle cable the way you modify basically a stock throttle cable. This one that I got is quite a bit longer than this other one, but that just means I can take it on a different routing that's not so tight, I guess. But you have to, it comes with these two sway gins on there that goes through the pedal, through the gas pedal. So basically you've got to cut the one end off up here so that you can go ahead and put one of these barrel clamp things on it, and then that way you can adjust it in the throttle pedal in the car. But you can see this one is just so old and cracked and decrepit, and so that's what ended up happening, and everything collapsed down, and I lost a bunch of throttle racing Amelia Hartford. And so yeah, so new throttle cable. I'll be able to route it just a bit differently. This one's off of like a Vortec, like previous generation to LS, so out of a pickup truck, but it's got the same end down here as the LS cable does. So this should work as far as cable to run my throttle. And so that's what I'm working on now. I'm just gonna cut this little swage off, and then I'm gonna put that barrel nut on there and get it put back in the car so that I can get a throttle hooked up. And then I'm gonna put the radiator fan in there, and then I can actually put this intake pipe back on that has my intake air temperature sensor in it and everything. And I'm really close to firing it up, but I still got to fill the engine with oil and the transmission with transmission fluid. But yeah, pretty much everything is up and together. And even though I didn't make it to Rocky Mountain Race Week, they started that today. They're running. I'm kind of a little bit miffed. I would have pushed harder to get there. If I'd have known I'd have had a spot. They're running 320 cars. They only sold 250 spots, but they're running 320 cars. So, I mean, if I'd have known I could have been in, for sure, I would have driven the 5.5 hours out there. I would have pushed harder on this, but I wasn't. They didn't even send me an email that said, hey, if you show up, we'll get you in. You know, whatever. But anyways, so I want to go see everybody. So not tomorrow. Tomorrow's their drive day on Sunday. But on Monday, I want to be able to drive the FireTurd down to Pueblo, down to the racetrack, and go watch everybody and talk to everybody and have a good time. And then hopefully on Tuesday, I'll be able to do the same thing up at Bandamere, drive the FireTurd, and I'm just going to kind of work some stuff out on it. That way at least I know it's good for Rocky Mountain Race Week 2.0, since I'm on the waiting list for that. So I'll just show up, I guess, at that one. And then if not, I mean, there's always LS Fest East. So it's just about getting it ready to go. So I'm not completely butthurt about it, but if I'd have known that I was going to get in because they were going to take 320 cars, I'd have showed up, you know. But I was like, I'm not driving 5.5 hours just on a hope and a whim. So anyways, that's my rant. I'm gonna get back on this, try and get it wrapped up. I'm about to do a first start on this dang thing. I got fuel hooked up. It's just basic. I just want to fire it up and get some oil flowing through it. There's no coolant in it. I do have transmission fluid in it. I just want to fire it up, cycle it through the transmission, you know, get the oil flowing in the motor, see what it sounds like. So I'm about to fire it up. Ooh. Fired up. Sounds alright. That exhaust sure warmed up. Ooh. Oh, oops. Forgot to put a cap on there. Oil. Okay, so I know it's slinging oil. That's for sure. It is most definitely slinging oil. Okay, so that's a positive. Kind of cool and exciting. I forgot to put an oil cap or something on there. I don't have the breather hooked up, but yeah, it runs. So yeehaw. I have fuel system stuff to work on, but yeah, fuel system and turbo wastegate stuff for boost issue stuff to do. I got to put water in it still, but yeah, I think it's about ready. Just about. Oh, I'm so beat. I need a shower so bad. Man, I'm horrible. Oh, and there's my dad. So I will see you on the flip side. Alright, I got the valve cover issue to deal with because I got holes to go all the way through where the coil mounts are. And they are puking out some oil over here, especially on this side. So that is definitely a must take care of. I'm sure it's doing it on this side too. Maybe not. Anyways, I've got those things to do. I got to get all the breather stuff hooked up, all the vacuum lines hooked up. I've got to get the Mac valves hooked up. I got to get into the computer and start tuning some of this stuff, but she does fire up. I did back it up onto the trailer, so the FireTurd is alive again, and hopefully in the next day I will, like tomorrow, I will get a lot more of the little details sorted out so that I can drive it down to Pueblo and I can meet everybody on Rocky Mountain Race Week. So there you have it. It's been kicking my butt. I've just been busting my butt even though I've been a little down. But you put in a little every day and you'll go a long way. So FireTurd is going to be up and running. I'm going to go see everybody at Race Week. And then who knows, maybe I'll take it down to the drag strip of Pueblo after I get some things sorted out, because I do not want to blow up the 408. But I also have to get on this other motor so that I can get on the next Camaro. So I've got a bunch of stuff going, a bunch of stuff to do, and I'm just going to keep whittling away at it, just plugging along, doing a little every day. That's what gets me a long way. So like, subscribe, share, and we'll see you on the next one. I'll get to editing.